I'm Steve Abeta. I'm animation and environment lead on Halo.
I'm Shikai Wang. I'm an artist for the Halo team. And you can see here, this is Halo in action. This is more actually kind of a beginning cinematics. And we have thrown in a bunch of cool effects and stuff like that to make the player feel more involved in the game. And you can see the environments are pretty well lit. There's a lot of dynamic lights going on. You see the siren flashing over there per pixel. So actually, we project like a light map onto it. And it's not vertex lighting, it's actually per pixel. You can see that explosion right there too as well.
Right, so like all this stuff that goes on is a lot of it has to do with dynamic light and dynamic shading of the environment, which means that we can pre-render light maps, so it'll show you what lights would do in real life, and then in real time we can actually explosions will light up the walls, sparks will light up the walls, you can get flickering effects, you can turn on a flashlight, which is something that is pretty expensive in video games, so you don't see it too much, but on Halo we've been able to do that all over the place.
One thing good about Xbox is it allows us to do multiple passes on texture, so it gives us, you can see that there's self-illuminated lights on the door right there, and like there's bump mapping and reflection mapping onto the surface, so that it simulates more or less like a real environment would do. And so when he flashes that grenade onto the wall, you see like a specular highlight on the wall. You see, if you get close enough, you can see that there's bump mapping and all this cool stuff that you just can't get with other consoles.
Right, cube mapping, detail maps, everything. I don't know how many maps you guys go through on each one, but there's a lot of passes. Yeah, this is another great thing about Halo. It's indoor and outdoor environments.
Right. And that's one thing you see at the sun over there. Like the sun, one of our programmers made it so that the sun actually creates like a volumetric effect when it passes through objects, so that it would more or less simulate how real world would do.
Right, and that's a good example of really special case effects that have been programmed into the game. Like he made that effect specifically for the sun.
Yes.
And we use it some other places too, but he also does stuff with the zoom camera, which you'll see, where there's very specific effects. We want to do something really specific, so he spent the time to do it for that one effect.
So part of designing the world for Halo is we start off with what we know more or less about real environment. And Xbox definitely gives us that opportunity to make things look more realistic. So this is more of indoor the inside technology of Halo, or on the ring of Halo. And without giving too much away of what Halo is and stuff, we try to make it look high-techy and cool, and also mysterious at the same time.
Right, and one of the challenges that the environment modelers had to do is there's a human race, which you are, so we have a specific architecture for that, and then there's guys that you're fighting, and there's a specific architectural style for that, and Halo, the world that you're on, has its own look, and it was a pretty big challenge for them to be able to create all those languages, but it's pretty effective. Like you get in any room and you know which race built that room, which is pretty cool. So here's some Covenant characters, a little firefight. You can see how they differ from yourself. You're part of the human race, but you're fighting these guys that move around a little bit like different animals. There's guys that move around a little bit like birds and are very guarded. They carry big shields. There's some comical characters, the grunts that look like they have the big shark fin on their back. There's the elites, which lead them all, and they're very beast-like, very kind of cat-like in that they're very agile and scary in that way. And the hunters are the big, massive behemoths guy.
What's so cool about Halo is that the alien people you're fighting is a group of alien races, not just one type of alien.
You can see the armor on this guy. It actually reflects. If you get close to the cyborg, he has a bump map. So everything, all the big tools that were too expensive to use on other systems, we can do them everywhere now.
So what you're seeing here is uses of or demonstrations of two different types of weapons. There's one human weapons, which is right here is a sniper rifle, and what you saw previously were some stuff that he picked up were. And I think one of the design philosophy that we try to do is we want to make sure that the weapons that humans use are more or less recognizable. and so that people would know how to use it, feel comfortable with it, and because we have a lot of play with the aliens weapons that we can go crazy with, so we wanted to stick with a simple rocket launcher, sniper rifles and stuff like that, and not get too crazy on the design on the human side. But when it comes to the alien side, we went all crazy with the curves and the shiny and the Fresnel effect and the purpling color and then all this cool stuff.
Right, and that goes with everything, right? The ship designs, the character designs, even with the animations, the way they move. The Covenant guys are way more beast-like. We try to get the Marines to look really familiar and human-like, because you're fighting with them. So I think you want someone who you have some familiarity with, so that I think you care about them a little more. You're trying to save them. You go against these jackals. They move a little bit like birds. They're hunched behind their shields. There's grunts, they're a little comical. It looks like they have trouble moving their own body weight around. But it was really fun to be able to explore all those different styles of movement for the Covenant.
Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing right here is a tank we codenamed Scorpion Tank, and it's a human tank. And you can see it has 4 different treads. It reacts relative to how it is placed on the ground. So in Halo we have really realistic physics where you can go over bumps and stuff like that. These treads move relative to the terrain and things. For the Arcside Halo, it's damn cool, man.
Hi, I'm John Howard. I'm lead game designer on Halo.
And I'm Jamie Griesemer, and I'm a designer.
And we're just going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on here, why we think this game is fun, why it's cool.
So these scenes are all from the first level, which is also the tutorial. So what you have right now is the technicians that woke you up from cryo sleep are teaching you about your energy shields and helping you figure out your controls, and it's all done within the context of the story, so it's a smooth transition. And it also doesn't last very long because almost immediately things go bad and the Covenant start attacking and they start killing off the people who are trying to help you, and then you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, Jamie has a good point. We wanted to get you right into the action, right into the game, so what really feels like a training, what feels like, oh, this is how you use the game, only really happens in that first part, but throughout the first mission, in fact throughout the entire game, there's always that stuff going on because there's so much stuff to do in Halo, because you can drive vehicles, because you can walk around stealthily, because you can use so many different weapons, so many human weapons, so many Covenant weapons, and there's so many different types of environments, so many different types of enemies that you're always constantly learning. So even at the end of the game, there's always new stuff going on.
So throughout this mission, as you're progressing through, the ship is taking more and more damage, and your screen will shake more often, and things start falling and exploding, and eventually the ship is just coming apart at its seams right before it crash lands on Halo.
Yeah, one of the things that's going on in this mission is the Covenant, this superior alien race who's been chasing humanity through the galaxy and destroying all of our civilizations and outposts, has come upon the ship that you're on, the Pillar of Autumn. And your goal is to get the shipboard AI, which knows the location of Earth, which is the most valuable piece of information the humans have, to take her and to get her off Halo. So you guys escape in an escape pod like this one and crash land somewhere on Halo. And the first part of the game is about finding the rest of the human survivors and getting them with you. So you have all sorts of cool Marines and people to have combat with.
And this is your first actual glimpse of Halo. We wanted to show the coolest parts of Halo first, and so we've got the 1,000-foot cliffs and the incredible sky with the ring up there in the distance. But almost immediately, before you really get a chance to sightsee, the Covenant are on top of you.
The vehicle you just saw there is a Covenant dropship, and one of the challenges we face is obviously we do interior environments and we do exterior environments. One of the challenges with exterior environments is unless you populate the whole exterior with bad guys, you need a way to bring in more bad guys. You can't have guys running over the terrain for 45 minutes coming to finally reach you. So human dropships and Covenant dropships are a way for us to reinforce a battle from either side and to mix things up and to surprise you as you go through the game. And it makes stuff a lot of fun. So here's one of our friends, another one of the Covenant. This is the Grunt, who is affectionately cannon fodder. We're going to waste a couple of them here, waste a couple of elites with the turret.
Now you saw that Elite was trying to get in that turret himself, but then the player jumped in and used it against him. That's one of the themes of Halo, is taking enemy weapons and using them against them, effectively or ineffectively.
Right. It's like taking your little brother's hand and making him hit himself with it. It's a lot of fun. So one of the things that obviously it's Halo's a game about combat, game about shooting, game about explosions, a little bit of song and dance, a lot of human weapons and a lot of alien weapons. One thing we really wanted to do with the weapons in Halo, we didn't want to make most games have a scale of weapons. Every weapon is better than every other weapon. That's not true in Halo. In every situation, and there's always an ideal weapon. It may not be the one you're carrying right now, but every time there's a place, the last mission in the game even, in places in later missions, and all the time in multiplayer, where you're like, oh, geez, I wish I had the pistol, or I wish I had the enemy plasma rifle. Always there's a situation where you want different tools.
And you can definitely see the different personalities in this situation. The cool stealth elite is just calmly surveying, and the grunts are kind of running around and being a little hectic, and then the giant hunter is just kind of watching for his next opponent.
Yeah, the hunter is still truly scary. Haven't worked on this game for a long time now. The hunter is someone I still truly fear for many reasons. Man, you see, we're just laying into him right here, and yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He's gonna whip our ass. So this is again outside. This is actually a beautiful environment. One of my favorite environments. This snow environment. Taking care of a little business with the elite. We're back to the Marines here. You want to talk about that, Jamie?
One of the things we really focused on in Halo is combat with the AI and not just against the AI. So you can see the Marines are helping you out. Sometimes you follow them, like you saw from the first mission, and sometimes they follow you and try to help you achieve your objectives.
Yeah, so obviously more weapons, sniper rifle, the ICE. Actually, one of the cool things with all these different vehicles is you pick up like something like the Ghost or the Warthog, which is the human Jeep with the chain gun on the back. You load the Marines into that. They're whooping ass. You hit across the ice. You take too hard of a turn. You slide into a wall and tumble the vehicle, and they all go flying out. And then the AI, the Marines, are smart enough to go, hey, I need to be back in that Jeep. And as soon as you right the Jeep, they get right back in it with you. This is an example of
the enemy using vehicles against you. That's a mortar tank, and this is a Covenant dropship, and it's just dropped 2 Covenant Ghosts, and they use vehicles extensively. And a lot of the fun of the game is to take that charge of the vehicle and take the guy out that's driving it, and then steal it yourself.
If we weren't pasting that guy with a rocket launcher, if we would have just hit him with a grenade and sort of glanced him and flipped the vehicle over, you would have seen the same thing where the elite would have gotten tumbled out of his vehicle, fired at you as he ran back to his vehicle, and then tried to hop back in it and use it against you. None of that stuff is scripted or pre-planned. It's all just how the AI knows how to use the environment and how to use the tools that they have against you.
This is a great example of an outdoor battle. It ranges across an entire canyon floor. It's a giant terrain, plenty of vehicles, lots of guys, all in the same area, part of the same giant battle.
Yeah, this is another one of the human vehicles. This is the Scorpion tank, which is a giant badass tank that we're using to just punish little grunts.
That right there is what Halo is all about. It's all about using a giant tank to pound one tiny little grunt and throw him through the air.
One thing you didn't see there is that the giant turret also has a machine gun on it, so you can be safely cozied in your tank, and while you're waiting for the next round of the Master Shell to reload, to fire off some machine gun rounds and provide some additional covering fire.
And what you see right there is you're driving a tank inside of a huge structure, and it's a massive, epic undertaking, and that's really Halo.
I'm one of the monks. I also write the music for Halo and work on the sound design. I'm Marty O'Donnell, and this is my little friend.
Bigger than you think, O'Donnell. Joseph Staten. I do all the cinematics and otherwise pester Marty.
Yeah, all the time. But we have to work together as a team because what is visuals without audio?
That's true. Good point. And this is an excellent example of just that, that relationship,
This
Marty.
opening, somewhat cutscene, but you still have control of the camera, but action is still happening on the screen.
Hey, this actually happens a lot in the first level, which is what we're seeing now. The player is actually taking camera control away from me,
Right.
which makes me nervous. But at the same time, sets up really cool cinematic moments that we've just essentially set up different things that are going to happen in the environment, be they explosions that trigger when you run by them, or guys that run up to you and have something important to say, little in-level cinematic
Every
moments
piece
that
of
are very
shrapnel
cool.
has its own metallic hit sound when it hits, and you know where it's hitting because you have surround sound on, everybody, right?
Don't badger them, Marty.
Oh,
if they
well,
have
sorry.
the system, they'll use it.
It's a good system.
But really, this whole first part of the game, when you're on your ship, the Pillar of Autumn, this big, massive, kilometer-long cruiser, you are essentially being boarded by the aliens, and we really wanted to give the player in real time that feeling of panic, terror as the aliens tear through your ship.
And there's Mendoza.
Mendoza, actually, the Marines each have unique personalities and names.
And look at
because,
that throw. That's a great grenade throw.
Great moment. So every time you meet a new Marine, he's going to maybe have something interesting to say, but he's going to have a unique voice, and that voice will stay with him throughout his lifetime.
Which is brief.
If you're trying to protect them.
Oh.
And this is a part of an insertion cinematic, what we call the cinematic moments at the beginning of a level, where we introduce the level to the player, show them the environment they're going to fight in, maybe show them a preview of the enemies they're going to face, that sort of thing.
And hear the ambient background of the birds and the wind and the Covenant dropship coming from far away, and the music swelling as you see the sun.
And this is actually a pretty challenging
Of course,
environment.
you're not hearing that at this moment. You're hearing us.
Right, sure.
But, okay, just pretend.
But a pretty challenging environment to actually try to create cinematics for and add sounds to, just because it is so big and imposing.
And a giant waterfall over to your right, which is echoing off the cliffs. And it really, truly is echoing because we have environmental modeling, digital signal processing chip on the Xbox, which we can set to all sorts of environmental models. Like this is a huge room with a really big echo. And this is the Arnold Schwarzenegger shot.
I don't know why you refer to that as the Schwarzenegger shot.
Don't you
when
remember
it's
that movie?
clearly a sort of Godard.
Godard.
Anyways,
Yeah.
that's another insertion cinematic, again, showing the player who they're going to fight, where they're going to fight them.
Yep.
And if you're quick enough on this level, you can actually steal one of the Banshees, this alien flying vehicle, from the aliens before they're able to get into it.
And to show you how big it is, I think if you were to get in this Banshee and just fly straight across to the other side, it still takes you like 20 seconds.
It's a really big...
And every one of those
space.
little plasma hits, when it hits the wall, has its own little unique burning sound. Which
actually-
was partially my mouth noise, by the way, for those of you who didn't know that.
That's gross, dude.
Yeah, okay.
But,
Mouth
I mean,
noises are good for games, trust me. Because you know what, everybody
for
else...
something else,
Hey,
too.
hey!
Edit that out.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? Look at those hooves that these guys have. Those creatures are great. You know, whenever you kill one of those creatures, you should definitely get up close and just look at it for a while, because it's unbelievable what it looks like.
Actually, we don't really spend a lot of time luxuriating on and actually showing you the aliens in the cinematics,
Right.
which is too bad, because every little piece of them has a sound when it clanks. This hunter's armor, his shield, for
Right.
example.
Even when he's breathing, he makes sounds, and it's tied directly to the way his idle animations work, and then his action animations.
My favorite sound I think I've heard that you've created so far, Marty, though, is when you sneak up behind one of these hunters
Yeah.
and you melee attack them in the game,
Yeah.
and then, I'm not going to spoil it, but you just got to listen to the sound they make when they die, when they fall forward and die.
Kabonk.
It's good stuff. Think watermelon
Yeah,
wrapped
there
up
you
in
go.
a big thing of
With a-
tinfoil.
Right, baseball
Hit
bat.
in the ground.
Yeah. So this is good here. We got the sniper rifle. You get in
Uh-huh.
close.
Hey,
Does this
Marty,
remind you of
does
anything?
Does this look familiar, Marty? Oh,
yeah, but I was on that other end.
Oh wait, if that didn't look familiar, does this look familiar?
No.
Oh, Martin!
What? Oh. Yeah,
That should remind you of every single time you ever faced me in multiplayer, muchacho.
I know. But that's because I actually spend my time working rather than playing till I get good.
Hey, if you listen really close, I think you can hear the ice creaking.
Yeah, and the snowflakes actually hitting the ice.
Uh-huh.
Every detail is in this game.
And the cool thing about, well, I mean, this is just cool, right?
This is totally cool.
I'm sort of mesmerized by it. Take that, dang!
Yeah.
And actually, the first
And the
time I saw
ghosts
this, yeah, the
coming
ghosts
out, that
actually
is
coming
so
out
cool.
of the thing. That's great.
The physics are really fun to work with. So when we actually attach sounds and they work with the actual physics of the environment, that means the sounds do things that we weren't even planning on them to do once you start working with them in the environment. So as the hovercraft gets nearer and further away and bounces, the sound actually responds. And crash, there you go. Sound of metal crashing into metal.
What you're saying, Marty, is it's all about putting the puzzle pieces into place and then just letting the player go.
Letting Jason Jones make it happen.
There you go.
He's the man.
There you go.
See, I know who's the kiss. Oh, sorry. And there's the tank that looks broken, but it's not. See, because he starts it up. And working on engine sounds for these things is also a blast because the engines, you can tell exactly what's coming at you from behind. Something's coming at you from behind. You can tell some little creature walking up to you or some huge tank driving up to you. You don't even have to see it.
a lot of the time in Halo, when you're going through these big environments, we are built in moments of transitions. This, though we haven't created the cinematic for it yet, is going to be one of those situations where you come into a new environment that's huge and massive, and you want to show it in third person and figuring out a way to pull back and say, hey,
This is how big.
this is how big and cool it is.
Kaboom!
Hi, so my name's Alex Seropian. I'm a founder of Bungie.
Hi, I'm Hamilton Chu. I'm producer on Halo.
This is Halo. We've been working on this game for, a little over 3 years now. It's a project we started after Myth of Fallen Lords came out. And it's evolved a ton in that amount of time. It started as it was a really small team of a couple of engineers basically working on some technology that they were going to use for an RTS game. And at some point in those early stages, they wanted to go back to some of our Bungie roots, like Marathon, and started working on what they could do with combining some of the stuff we learned on Myth with some of the action elements of a game like Marathon. And that was sort of the first part of Halo's evolution. In the years that followed, a lot of things happened where, like recently, we got acquired by Microsoft, so we had an opportunity to refocus and move from the PC world to the console world, which is something we've been interested in doing for a long time. That's had a real profound effect on the way we think about the game, and the way that we design the game, and a lot of the decisions that we've made recently. It's really given us the opportunity to focus on making the game graphically really rich and play really well. I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff we've learned along the way too with process. This is definitely the biggest team that we've ever had working on a game. It started off, like I said, really small, and it now encompasses all of Bungie.
Like Alex said, this is by far the largest team and project that Bungie's ever done. The story in Bungie games has always been a really big thing for us and something that our fans really appreciated. So it's always a big part of everything we get into. I think we used it to a really good effect in our first level.
Yeah, speaking of effects, you see the sun coming through the trees right there?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think everybody else in their commentaries have talked about how cool that is.
But did they talk about Bernie? Because Bernie did that. Jason
Yes.
calls him the little monster. He's just a coding maniac.
It's all about having coding maniacs.
Yeah,
They're
we
really
had a
helpful.
party last week at Jason's house. Bernie showed up with his laptop and he coded the whole time.
That's part of why we like Bernie so much.
That's what makes him a little monster.
That and the food he eats. There's some more cool effects. So this is A30, a level that Marcus Leto did, our art director. It's really cool. The outside vistas in Halo, I think they're among the best that I've seen in any game.
Yeah, as are the interiors that we're seeing here. These are pretty cool as well.
This one's done by Chris Barrett.
That's pretty cool because Chris didn't actually start off working on Halo. He was working on a different project.
That's true, but
That's-
and we're really glad he did some stuff for us because this interior stuff and the snow outside stuff that you see later, it's all Chris, and it looks cool, and it's really different from the other stuff we've done.
It's very different.
So it really added some good variety and showed us some stuff that we could do with our engine that we didn't know before. Looks like we're running through all the weapons here. The weapons were designed by Rob McLeese.
Rob was actually one of the first people that we hired at Bungie. He's been here for 6 years. He's really into guns.
Yeah, and he just got married, which is kind of weird.
He married somebody who works here too.
Yeah.
A woman, Lorraine.
Yes, we have a woman.
She's married though.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And now it looks like we're running through the characters here. Here's the Jackal. A while ago, you could shoot through his shield pretty easy, but then we made his shield really fairly impenetrable. That made it really nasty.
That's a stealth lead.
Man, that
really
stealth
cool.
effect's really cool. That's Bernie again.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah, Bernie did a lot of the cool shaders that are in the game. This hunter character is really cool.
He's got these spines that they'll twiddle when he's nervous. And he's got this cool neck that you can see when he dies.
He's got a real soft spot on him. You could actually kill him one shot
Yeah,
with the pistol
shot in the
if you get-
back. Bink.
But that's not to say he's a wuss or anything, because he
No.
could kill you real
Like
easy.
this.
Yeah. So this was sort of some of the outside stuff that Hamilton was talking about. Chris Barrett did. I was gonna say like that's one of the cool things about Bungie is we've got this real open environment, and like we can grab somebody like Chris Barrett and Dan, who are both working on different projects, and we can sort of enlist them into Halo, and they can contribute in a really important way like this. That's really cool. Damn, snow is cool.
Yeah, maybe we should actually talk about what's going on the screen.
The story in our games have always been really important, and like when we decided to announce the game, basically we tried to tell a story with a cinematic. That's when we went to Macworld and Steve Jobs sort of unveiled Halo for the first time. That got us a lot of mileage out of that trailer that we did for that announcement.
I guess you're getting to see a lot of the vehicles here. Vehicles are a pretty fundamental part of Halo. I feel like it's what adds a lot to the whole first-person shooter experience, and it adds a lot to your combat experience.
Really makes the game unique. That's one of the things that we've tried to do in all the games that we've made. Like if you look back through our gameography, like, you know, Myth really was the first strategy game that had real 3D in it.
Yeah, something that you referred to before with the engineers and the artists working closely together. I think it's worth talking about that again. I think that's really a big part of why our stuff can look so good, is because the artists and the engineers really do talk to each other a lot, and more than that, they each understand the process that the other party is going through, and the issues that the other party is dealing with, and that really lets them do a lot. The artists understand the tools such that they can take it farther than the engineers envision it going, and the engineers understand the artist's needs so that they can come up with new tools for them to use that the artists wouldn't have suggested themselves. So a lot of the cool effects that you see here is a lot of different things working together, the shaders and the light maps and the bump maps.
Do you know we did Marathon with like 5 guys?
Is that so? Really?
Yeah.
5 guys? And is that including you? Because then it's really like